Hello, we are back. It's been a while. Sorry about that, folks. Um, been just things happening and getting sick and some other things happening there. So I think we're pretty much on the mend here. I think got Nan's here with us now too. So yay. Um, so but we are back again today, and we are talking today about our favorite masters of pact magics and evil like deals making with extra planar entities and whatever else that's the warlock. Um, so first off, I want to say I've made a bunch of warlocks. Um, the first main villain of Avarice was a warlock. And I mentioned before how warlocks make great villains because you can just go all out and not worry about like their limitations in number of spells and everything else like that. And they have a great theme to them. But I've also made a lot of fun warlock characters of varying types, which are very cool. Your experience with warlocks, Nance?
Zero, zilch, other than what people have given to me to defeat and beat up as the BBEG. That is my extent. And even then,
Yep,
I couldn't tell the difference between a warlock and a wizard. That was
sure.
that's my case.
Well, warlocks are arcane casters. There's a lot of similarities in how things come at you as um, when you're on the receiving end of it. It's hard to tell the difference between a warlock and a wizard sometimes, unless they're blatantly obvious about it. Um, so typically, yeah, you're going to be seeing the same types of magic coming toward you. Uh, so very similar in the spell lists in general. There are a few warlock specific things, we'll talk about some of those fun little spells there. Um, I will say warlocks are very fun to play in Baldur's Gate 3 because there's a if you want to try them out there, they're really fun to play. So if you don't know how they work, it's a good way to try it out there. Is if you're into Baldur's Gate 3, there, try out a warlock there. One thing I will say, warlock for me and my experience with players and myself even, they are very much a class that gets multi-classed. I have never seen anyone level all the way up as a warlock. Only because they do have some limitations in what they can do. They have kind of limited their spell slots. They are limited in the kind of their number of spells known. They have sort of that spells known aspect similar to a sorcerer, but the number of spell slots is much less as well, and they work a little funky. So I will say warlocks can be kind of a little tricky to play. I will be very honest about that, but they make great things to team up with other classes. And we'll talk about some different warlock multi classes here. Um, but in general, the warlock, both the 2014 and the 2024 warlocks in D&D, do function very similar. They have their patron. They are getting their magic from an otherworldly entity of some kind. Could be a demon or some Cthulhu outer world entity. Could be a celestial being, a fey being, but typically a being of power of some kind that can grant power to someone, and they through a pact of some kind. So they're kind of signing that deal with the devil. They're being gifted holy power from a divine entity. They're drawing on some ancient magic in a druidic like ritual in some ways. So they all have that sort of like that idea where they're forging a bond with an entity, not quite different in concept between a cleric. A cleric is praying for things. They form a connection through prayer and through devotions to their divine entity. Whereas the warlocks it's actually a pact where there's a give and take there a lot more of a personal relationship in some ways, and which makes it fun for the DM because you're kind of handing the DM an NPC to mess with you because that's what patrons are. They can call on you to do things. They can make things a little more difficult for you if they want to, or step in to help out if it benefits them in some way. So, kind of fun that way. Um, so, some of the warlocks have you had players who've been warlocks before, Jens?
I had players that played Warlocks before. I think I've had a few. Um, I think I have one now. He's playing a Lockadin.
Okay, yeah. So
I
yeah,
think.
Paladin Warlock. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I
It's
think
that. Yeah.
pretty
Um,
sure that's what he's
okay.
playing. But like because I'm not so very familiar with it, I usually just defer to what he says and then, I look up the rule to make sure that he's still able to do what he says
Yeah.
he's supposed to do. But that is the extent of what I can do.
Sure. Um, so as so the Paladin Warlock, very common one.
Hmm.
Typically anything because Warlocks are a charisma based caster. So any class that benefits from charisma is great to team up with the Warlock. So Paladins because their auras and their spell casting is all based around charisma.
Hmm.
Obviously bards, sorcerers are also great to team up with Warlocks if you want to expand their spellcasting ability and everything else, um, and just ways of kind of fleshing out. Warlocks have sort of limited but very powerful magic, and so teaming it up with a class that gets a lot more magic, like the Bard or the Sorcerer, really expands the capabilities of the Warlock. And if you're going with a Warlock who is the most commonly played Warlock in 2014 is the Hexblade Warlock, because Hexblades, of course, get to use their charisma for their attacks and their damages for any weapon attacks they make. So with a paladin, now you can have a paladin who doesn't have a super high strength and super high dex because they don't need it because they use charisma for everything, spell casting and attacks and damage. So it becomes a really, really powerful build to just use a hexblade paladin. Um, so which means then when you're making your attacks, you're hitting with your charisma, you're adding this charisma damage, you're smiting on top of it and doing all kinds of crazy things that way. And you throw hex on something, and so now you're adding d6 to every hit you make, and paladin can get extra attacks. It gets messy.
It does.
Paladin Warlock, yeah. Another fun one, actually, in a similar vein, there, if you wanted to go with a melee focused Warlock, is to go with Paladin, or sorry, Warlock Hexblade with College of Swords Bard because now you're more of an artistic sword dancer, whipping around magic and swords and swords and eldritch energy and everything else. It's crazy. Um, so uh, finding a warlock using doing multiclass that's not a hexblade is fairly uncommon. Um, because of that aspect there, being able to be a melee combatant with using your charisma. But warlocks do have some fun abilities that aren't focused around being a hexblade. And part of the reason we call the name of this episode Eldritch Blast because warlocks are the only class that can take Eldritch Blast. It is a signature spell for them. And it's you roll to hit, add your charisma, and you do a D10 force damage in the original rules. Now they are expanding it out where you could do psychic or radiant or necrotic damage with a lot of your things there, which kind of expands kind of kind of how whatever your patron is your patron's favorite flavor is essentially. Um, so, but the idea there is that you have this cool cantrip that you blast out there, and instead of leveling up more dice when you hit, like you do with most other cantrips, sorcerer gets to shoot multiple blasts, which on the surface seems kind of weird, but it means you can split up your targets across multiple people, but it also means you have more chances to crit. And critting with a D10, very, very fun.
Hmm.
Um, critting with a D10 and you have Hex on someone, now you're D10 plus D6. Critting with Hex and um, Eldritch Blast and being a rogue with Sneak Attack, since it is a it is a spell attack roll, adding in D6 sneak attacks that can crit as well. So you can see something kind of some ramping up here for each of those blasts you throw out there. So very fun. Um, also, the Eldritch, the Warlock gets Eldritch invocations, which is sort of like free feats in a way. They can expand some of their spellcasting abilities. They can give them extra magic they can just cast at will, like armor or shadows. Lets them cast mage armor without spending a spell slot. They just cast it whenever they want. Um, they
Power
get
fill.
things like Mask of Many Faces. Mask of Many Faces gets you can cast Disguise Self at will, yeah, whenever you want. So yeah, it is fun that way. And yes, poor Will.
Poor Will. He'll always
Um,
get casted at.
yes. Uh, but the pact magic is kind of the focus of the warlock there, and they get extra spells based around the theme of their patron. So if your patron is a fiery demon thing, you get a bunch of fire based spells that just added to your spell list you get for free, and you can cast them, and you often get benefits to those spells because they're pact spells. Um, with like other world the old one, the Cthulhu like entity, it might be bonus psychic damage spells. Um, the the Fey patron might give you things like thorn whip and plant growth and some other like nature based type spells for free to add to your spell list there. And so yeah, the the patron is kind of the theme of your warlock and your spells. So you can think of it that way there. And you get a lot of benefits if you kind of lean into that theme a bit.
Kind of like
Um,
this theme here, there, Jim. The
what's that?
great, the great old patron.
Oh yeah, great old one. That is Cthulhu.
Well, so I'm looking at the picture because I have the book open in front of me. That's what I'm flipping through.
Sure.
Kind of looks like a witch.
Okay.
I
Okay.
mean, I mean, there are tentacles hanging around, but she looks like she could be a sea witch, and
Yeah.
that looks like I may be playing a warlock next, Jim.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Warlock's very fun. I will say 2024 made some interesting things 2024 to the Warlock there. Um their abilities kind of come a little bit different. They get way more invocations sooner and more of them. Uh and they made some pact abilities. There's three, like I mentioned, the Hexblade. Hexblade kind of became the fourth pact pact or pact type, essentially. You can be pact of the chain, pact of the blade. Actually, no, hexblade was one of the subclasses. So the blade, chain, or tome. Blade was a warlock focused around using weapons. Chain was around using having special familiars, and the warlock's familiars were more powerful and more interesting. And then Tome allowed them a lot, much more expanded spells, magic they could do. I believe also ritual spells like a wizard might have. So the idea of having those. Well, now in 2024, those are invocations. So you could actually have more than one. Normally, you'd pick one pact feature, and you can only have that. So pretty much most Hexblade warlocks would take pact to the blade because they're all focused around magic, around damage. Now those abilities are sort of wrapped up into invocations, so you can get more powerful invocations and more interesting things based around your type of magic that you want to do. So you want to be like a summoner type, taking Pact of the Chain with your specialized familiars. You want to be more of a strict caster type person that Pact of the Tome. You want to be more of a combat like blade type person there, taking Pact of the Blade. So again, the flavor you want. Warlocks have such a theme and a flavor around them. I think more than almost any other class, because while your paladin's going to have like your devotion to what the ideals that you serve, the cleric is going to have their deity they serve there. The warlock is sort of like, who am I and what do I do? I've got this person standing behind me, putting power into me, but I'm going to basically be this being of psychic torment, or I'm going to be this fey trickster, or I'm going to be this fiery uh, harbinger of doom. Um, and you really kind of lean into that, and so that's why when you multi-class, you can grab more things that enhance that theme you have. Um, so I oftentimes see warlocks as really leaning into a specific theme, so based around their pact and their patron. Um, so
wow. So
with that, yeah, go
Jim,
ahead.
real
Yeah,
quick, we're
yeah,
almost
go jump in there. Yeah.
at the end of all of our classes, right? Like, because
Hmm.
next week or 2 weeks from now will be our wizard class, which will be the end.
Yep.
But I have found a common theme within all of the different types of classes that they all now have the ability to do some type of self heal or some type of heal a member that's down so that we don't have to have a specific I'm the healer of the party.
Yeah.
How are
Oftentimes it's
you
a subclass.
mhm,
Yeah.
how are you feeling about warlocks being a healer?
Celestial warlocks are amazing. I've made a celestial warlock. In fact, I made a celestial warlock who was a celestial warlock divine soul sorcerer, and I was the ultimate healer. Um, it was crazy because I got bonuses from my bloodline and from my pact for healing, and I was able to do so much healing with this character. It was great, and the fact that I was still able to hook out guiding bolts and eldritch blast with with that character too. I was never without utility, never without something I could do. Even when my healing dried up there, I was still able to be effective as a character. So I really like that aspect that we have healing things beyond just I'm the cleric, so I'm the healer. You don't have to be. You can be the healer monk with the Way of Mercy monk,
Hmm.
who can punch people into feeling better. You have obviously healing abilities for the paladin. Um, I don't see healing abilities for barbarians and fighters, but
I think
they're, I mean,
barbarians had the because the way 2024 broke it down, you don't have the tomes anymore. You had almost something like a pack. There is one in there that is a healer barbarian. They don't punch you to death necessarily, but they ask the spirits to come help guide you and get you well.
yeah, yeah. So I think they had some aspect of there, and so the idea of the is that if people have you can take that, and the fact is, if you're starting a campaign from level one, you can see who wants to do that. You don't
Hmm.
have to say I am at so some people have it right out the gate. Obviously, clerics have it cure wounds
Hmm.
at level one. Um, so do bards. Um, if you're a divine soul sorcerer, you have it at level one. So there's that. I mean, so having a little bit of healing right off the bat, multiple classes can do it. But to be the focused healer, you don't have to be like, well, I'm the cleric, so I have to be the healer because nobody else will be. Well,
Right.
there can be bards that are healers. You can take healing for multiple things, or just have a bunch of different people with all that had different healing abilities. And you're not focused on one person. I can heal him. I can heal him. No, I can do it. I can do it.
Hmm.
So
I think that's fun
you're
now
spreading out
that
the duties.
yeah,
Yeah,
spreading it out because I mean, I, let's face it, I love playing clerics, I love playing paladins, and most of that is I want to defend my people that are in my party, or I want to make
sure,
sure that they don't die, right?
sure.
But every now and then, I've always looked at the cleric and went, I wonder what a war cleric would be like.
Oh, it's great.
But then my brain
It's a
goes,
blast.
just play a paladin, because that's just.
I mean, well, think of it this way: is that you could do a cleric paladin and really kind of go crazy, or I
Hmm.
mean, the thing is, if you want to play a war cleric, well, now you're praying to a god of war, and your spells are now geared toward doing damage and doing things, whereas a paladin has to run up and punch things. Where I can like call down fiery judgment from the
Hmm.
sky as a war cleric, or beat them with my weapon of office, my weapon charged by my deity and everything else that. So there's a lot of fun ways to go. And I mean, is one better than the other? Maybe. It's just different flavors of doing different things. And so um, I think that's where Warlocks kind of shine in that they can really kind of enhance a lot of other classes.
Hmm.
Just with a couple, like a 3 or 4 level dip into Warlock, you can really, if I'm a paladin of nature, if I'm a paladin of kind of focusing on fiery judgment or
Hmm.
else that dipping into Warlock and getting those invocations and getting those things that make me even better at that, that's, I
Hmm.
mean, that's just a great way to go. And it doesn't detract too much from what you're doing. Um, one of my favorite Warlocks um, is the Eldritch Blast Master. The Gatling Mage, as they're called, because you basically go, okay, I'm a Warlock, I got Eldritch Blast. Um, I'm going to take a few levels of fighter because guess what I can do with my uh, uh, action surge? I can cast another Eldritch Blast.
Of course.
So I'll cast an Eldritch Blast, and then if I take, oh, I don't know, a level or two of Sorcerer, and I can now quicken, I can cast another Eldritch Blast as a bonus action. Then you can go. Um, I can go ahead and then dish out an action surge and do another set of Eldritch blasts. Um, so yeah, you can really kind of dish out a bunch of things really quickly. And if you say, oh, I don't know, hex the person you hex the big target you're trying to kill there, and you're doing D10 plus D6, D10 plus D6, D10 plus D6, and just dishing it out there over and over and over again, you're suddenly doing like upwards of 9 to 12 D10 plus 9 to 12 D6 over the course of things there. And that's if you don't crit on all those attacks. So um, it gets ugly real fast. And throw a repelling blast on those, and you're knocking them back 10 feet for every time you hit them. They just get launched off a cliff. Um, very,
What?
very fun.
What?
And yeah,
Yeah.
well, they do as a repelling blast can't do things anything large, any creature that's larger than large size. So yeah,
Okay. Okay. Well, that balances
yeah,
it then. That's good.
yeah, a little bit, yeah, yeah. But Roy, so Millsap is in there. I see there, Warlock equals source with less options. In a way, I look at it as different options. I think the sorcerer has its niche. I love my sorcerers as well. Obviously, I played one almost to level. Well, I played them to level 20, and 18 of those were sorcerer. Um, so actually no, 17. Sorry. Anyway, um, the well, the sorcerer focuses on just on purely on magic and their spell casting. Warlock can kind of dip into some other things, like the the sorcerer is not going to have a Pact of the Chain familiar and have a cool familiar that can do cool things like scouting stuff. They're not going to be able to just have um, uh, the expanded spells that a warlock has through Pact of the Tome. They're going to the melee abilities that the warlock has through Hexblade, Pact of the Blade type of things. So in a way, um, the warlock is going to be a little bit more focused in an area that a sorcerer can't be as easily. But I will say the warlock sorcerer, the Sorlock, is frightening because now you have those powerful spell slots the warlock has and the sorcery abilities, and you can really flesh out that theme if you want there. So you kind of dip out warlock and sorcerer. You can go kind of crazy with that because they're both charisma casters. So all of your spells are dishing out all the bonuses you're getting from both your classes. So a lot of fun. Hexblade is a lot of fun. Every Hexblade I've made and or played um, has been a great time. And yeah, Hexblade just they dip in with so many fun character builds, and just open up some options you just can't do otherwise. Um, so some warlocks out in the pop culture world. One of the ones, if you read, pretty much think about any character who's got a voice in their head, who's got someone backing them to be what they are. So in literature, Elric of Melnibone, that person is absolutely a warlock because they literally have a possessed blade that is gifting them with a power, and they are literally channeling energy via that pact they've made. They literally sold their soul. Any character who, yeah, sells their soul for power, do I think about characters in Supernatural, Constantine. These are all characters in pop culture that have made a deal for power. They're basically they're right in that warlock territory. Um, any ones you can think of there, Naz, before I throw out a couple more.
Of world. So this is gonna sound stupid, but Sailor Moon.
Oh God, yeah, magical girls,
Uh,
absolutely.
Yep.
I mean, so the idea there, she's pulling in divine power and transforming, and now she's got
Yep.
this like eldritch blasting ability with her abilities and stuff like that. And so, absolutely, they're like
Mhm.
it's skinned in a way. It's skinned in a way that looks very different from other warlocks. But yeah, remember, warlocks can look very, very different
Mhm.
based on who their patron is. Dresden after the book changes, absolutely, because he becomes Winter Knight. Um, so sorry for spoilers there for the Dresden Files fans. Uh, but yeah, he's now getting extra power even before changes because he was getting power from somebody else via the coin, which if you've
Shh,
seen
Joe,
Avarice there, it's
it's on my to read list. Don't
okay.
ruin it.
Yeah. So I mean, in a way, so the idea of any character who's like summoning up something and making a deal to get power kind of dips into that warlock territory. Um, there is actually a great series that I've enjoyed a lot. Um, oh crap! The first book was what's it called? The time bound warlock, the time marked warlock. Um, Obviously is a warlock character, and it very much is because the warlocks, the types of it's a modern day um, uh, fiction. It's a urban fantasy, so modern day thing of this guy. And warlocks actually they have their very cores of their being, and they can tie their core to another to a spiritual outer plane or whatever entity, and they can get varying levels of power. So they could get like from an earth spirit or a brownie fey spirit there and get abilities. A trickster spirit they could take in and then get like abilities to fiddle with locks or mess things up. Um, the main character, Adair Finch, is has a pact with Kronos and has the ability to essentially mark a time and then be able to rewind back to that time again whenever he wants. So it has to be within 24 hours, but he can do that, and so he can set a save point and then rewind back to that save point whenever he needs to. It's a very much a cheat, but the way he uses it, the way the book plays out there, is a lot of fun. Um,
Saves
the
coming.
Stormlight books, yeah, oh god, yeah, it is a total character based around saves coming there, and it's great. Um, so because imagine being able to basically do Groundhog Day whenever you want. That's what
Mm,
the premise of that is. Like, okay, I'm gonna keep doing this until I get it right. Um, so thanks from the Stormlight books. Yeah, the Stormlight books definitely. You are gifting power. It's a little bit. You're not necessarily getting power from an extra planar thing, but you are gaining power through getting abilities through that bond that you formed. Oh no, take that back. No, you are getting them from Spren. I forgot. Too many characters out there. My gosh, yes, but yeah, definitely the Knights Radiant from Stormlight are absolutely they form a bond with a being and get powers based on which being they bond to. Um, uh, so, um, and the idea of creating, I've seen people do this where they take and figure out how to build a Knight Radiant with D&D rules. And very much, I think a Knight Radiant there, Warlock is a great way to go for a lot of those. You get some really cool abilities that based on there. Um, so yeah, it's kind of fun that way. Um, who's some other Warlocks we can think of here? Uh, again, it's that tricky aspect of yes, I've made a deal for power. Think of one. I was trying to think of some earlier. I'm like I said, Constantine. I mean, you like Doctor Strange isn't a warlock. He's not.
no.
He's not. He's learning the abilities. He is. I still say he's a sorcerer, um, which he's called a sorcerer supreme. He's not a wizard. Um, so
So
yeah,
when
it's
we're
interesting to see.
talking about getting it from otherworldly, are we talking like it has to be a deity or a godly
No,
type
could be
entity, or can it be like I get my powers like so? Superman obviously got his powers from being who he is, living on the planet that he lives on,
sure,
right?
sure.
But um, Doctor Doom didn't. Doctor Doom got his
Dr. Doom
powers. Go ahead.
go with that. Yeah,
He got his powers from you know killing the things that he got, and then he got the crystal or the rock or something like that. It's so long
Yeah.
ago, I don't remember the book. Um, but yeah, it came from something. It's a particular
Hmm.
object that he got his power from, and
Yeah.
then he turned into
I,
Doctor Doom.
I think, I mean, thinking like Green Lantern, he's gaining his power from a Green Lantern point, which is
Hmm.
a cosmic force of some kind.
Hmm.
Jean Grey is the Phoenix Force.
Yep.
I mean, Phoenix there, you are tapping into a power. I mean, maybe not necessarily a being, but an external power of some kind that may not have a conscious voice, but you are tapping into a power of some kind. Um, it could be something along those lines. Yeah.
So then, if we're going along that premise,
Hmm.
Aragon from Lord of the Rings, when he finally says that he's the true king, gets control of those that army of ghosts. They come in, do their thing, and then he releases them.
Maybe. I think. I mean, I'm not. I wouldn't say no to that. Obviously, you could definitely make that sort of thing there. But think of it as: is he saying yes to the host of the undead that can then give him the ability to call on those undead? Sure. Or does he just learn a powerful spell and now that he can cast? Is it just something? So it kind of comes like think of it this way: is there other things that Aragorn gets by doing that beyond just that one ability to call an army of dead? It's kind of like think of beyond
Hmm.
just one thing. So
I mean, he
eh,
gets to be
if
king.
it, well, yeah, but I mean that's you can pull a rock out of a stone and be a king. I mean, it's pull a rock out of a sword out of a stone and become king.
Yep.
Shazam. Absolutely. I by the power of Grayskull. Shazam yeah, you are gifted power. Like Shazam literally is gifted power by Merlin. Who then says, "Yes, you have this power. You call on it and boom, now I can do things." He-Man, yes, he's a weakling Adam weakling. Prince who can then raise aloft the sword there and he gets power to do things. So yeah, absolutely. Perfect. Those are great. Those are great examples there. Anyone that transforms in a way, yeah, like because they're getting power from somewhere, they can activate. Think of it as like the idea. I always look at there's a high level D&D spell called Tetris Transformation. It just turns you into a superhero. like I just picture that like I am buff and mighty. So kind of this wizard throws off his robes and now he's this like buff warrior dude there carrying a big old sword. Um,
All right,
very
calm down,
fun.
Optimus.
Yeah. So yeah, so great examples there. Yeah, so I mean, and it gives you some ideas of maybe between your invocations you pick and the style of combat you do, is that yes, um, the power from the Allspark, the Autobots. I mean, if you want to go that route, um, things that transform. Actually, things that transform make sense in a lot of ways because you have more than one form there, and by calling on the power that you have, you can take on new abilities and do things you couldn't do. Optimus Prime wasn't running around shooting a laser gun while he's in truck form, but he pops out and now he can Eldritch blast with his big old rifle thing that he's got.
Hmm.
So yeah, things that think of those things like maybe you can't do something while you're in this form, but you transform with your patron's help, and now you can do these other things that you couldn't do before when you cast a spell, when you use an invocation. Um, and again, depending on who your patron is, it's going to define what those abilities look like and everything else. And then if you multi-class even more, now I feel like a warlock barbarian. So you rage and suddenly using charisma with your rage abilities. What? Yeah, that one doesn't work well. I would just say don't try that one. It doesn't work.
A
Um,
charismatic barbarian, huh?
well,
They're
I mean,
real dumb.
I mean, we got Dow in here. He's going to build that one next. Um, But the thing about that is the reason why is that rage abilities only work with strength-based things. So you kind of conflict. Um, so you can only get bonuses with strength-based things, and you can't. And with Warlock, even with Pact of the Blade, you can only make weapon attacks with charisma. So it doesn't fuel other things like that. But I mean, and again, you can't cast spells while you're raging, so you can't use your warlock abilities. Yeah, it's a little bit messed up. But again, there's cool things you can do. Um, with that concept of I'm going to transform into this, I'm going to draw on power from another source and do these cool things with it. Um, so yeah, I think that we touched on this here, but warlocks do make great villains because they are such themed. They are such like making a pact with something powerful is a great like the BBEG is the patron, but you fight his warlock earlier on, or you fight multiple warlocks because the big old patron thing can have multiple warlocks, and all of his servants are warlocks he's gifting power to. That is a great way to go because now you have different levels of warlocks who are his most trusted people. So you have this demon prince sitting on a throne, and he's got a whole army of warlocks he's gifted power out to, and here you are taking Eldritch Blast from every single possible angle you can figure out. Um, so I think the idea that warlocks and their patrons can make great villains for an entire campaign arc. Um, and I will go. You can go say the one of the warlocks patrons in the old ones is the undead warlock. So basically, imagine having a lich who grants power to a lesser servant to be a warlock. Doesn't need to be a god. It can be a powerful undead. Could be some ancient undead dragon is gifting power to a dragonborn warrior that's going to basically go out and lead his armies.
Hmm.
Um,
Millsap knows all about that, don't you, Millsap?
mhm. Yep. So so yeah, warlocks make great lieutenants. They can make great like lesser BB. Like what would it be? Secondary BB, EG. Not the
Cousins?
big bad, but the lesser big. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, the LBEG, the less big bad. Um, so the idea that yes, you can really flesh out a villain organization by using warlocks. And not everyone that works for that BBEG is going to necessarily be a warlock. There's going to be other people with them
Hmm.
that don't take the same kind of power, but have the same kind of theme. And it may be that, hey, I'm the warlock. I'm the one here, like the big guy is talking to, but you all work for me now, or we're all partnered up with the same goal. Um, Obviously, Wraith and his whole crew, they
Hmm.
were they definitely weren't. He was the only warlock of the bunch, but his whole crew had a lot of other skills that kind of fleshed out what he could do in those situations. Um, so yeah, I think um, I would say they are tr- one of the things that always made warlocks tricky to play, and everything else is that again they're limited number of spell slots, but they get them back on a short rest. So in a campaign style where you're getting that that sort of sprint thing of like, and then you have time to rest, and you have another big sprint and time to rest, where you're able to short rest, a warlock can just go all out and then rest, and then go all out and all rest. In a campaign, we do a lot of in a campaign style or a campaign arc where you are literally getting attacked every like multiple encounters over and over and over again. The warlock hit struggles because they don't get a chance to rest and refresh those spell slots. So that's where things like anything that can allow you to recover spell slots, magics or magic items, or else that can really help there. It's one of the reasons why warlocks often then will multi-class because they can use their warlock abilities, their invocations, and their cantrips anytime they want. They can bust out those big spells when they need them to kind of turn the tide of things, and then have their other class and the other class abilities to be able to sustain more flexibility in encounters. Um, so that's is one of those things. A lot of times I've had players who want to play a warlock and they just struggle with it. And so sometimes as a DM to help them, you may consider a couple of things. I've seen things where a allowing for more short rests in your encounter design. Um, that will allow them to do more things there. Having more, if they have items and things like that that give them more ability to cast spells, like having like wands or uh, one shot items that allow them to throw out some extra spells when needed, are a big help for them as well. Um, and one thing I was thinking about is a house rule I've heard of. I never had any warlock players, so I never put this in here. But the idea of getting extra cantrips by either taking on an extra um, service they have to make to their patron, or they have to essentially devote themselves either through a specific item they have to get an extra invocation. Extra invocation is also a feat, by the way, so you can get more invocations that way.
Hmm.
Um, but the idea of like I have this amulet that's I've made or recovered or found that's tied to my patron, and now you give me a bonus of some kind, an extra invocation, maybe an extra spell slot, whatever, that I have this thing because it's tied to my patron. So it can be something they find or make, or are gifted for some extraordinary service they do for their patron. So things like that, story wise, are really ways the patron, because I've when I've seen warlocks in campaigns that never interact with their patron never interacts with them. Yeah, I feel like it's a lost opportunity. Like you have this thing built into the character class to mess with the character,
Hmm.
or to have plot lines or quests or encounters. They're just tied to that being that's there. It's like a cleric never having to speak to their deity or never having to do something for their church or their shrine. It's like it's an opportunity you have to gain more more story elements, more interesting encounters, and again, more tailored rewards to players, which really help with campaigns, long running campaigns especially.
Have you ever had somebody come to you with the concept of a warlock where they don't know how they made the pact with their person, and they're literally leaving it up to you to figure out how that gets played out?
That's a rough one. Although it is really interesting too because they're basically handing you like here, screw with me.
Hmm.
It's that character who's got amnesia and they don't know anything about that, so you can do whatever you want to them. Like, oh yeah, by the way, you get this memory of things, or this idea pops in your head that you don't know where it came from, or this urge to do something that you don't know. Um, I will say, if you're watching Mighty Nine right now on the Critical Role, I mean, yeah, yeah, we're seeing that play out with Ford, who is a warlock of a great old one. Um, and it was in the campaign, but it's even more so in the series where he doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know how he's doing it, and it's like he doesn't even know why he has the ability. Suddenly he can bring up the sword, and he goes that no clue because basically the entity claimed him while he was drowning in the ship after his ship got destroyed, and he wakes up with these abilities, has no clue where they came from. So um, that's it can make some for some very fun things. It could also make some for very dark themes too, depending on who that entity was. If it could be some sort of a benevolent patron who basically said took pity on them and said, "I'm gonna bring you back to life, and here's this thing here,
Hmm.
but I'm gonna ask you to do things for me." Um, in the case of Ford, it's yeah, deep, dark, terrible voice telling him to do things occasionally and trying to influence him in some ways
Hmm.
that he has to kind of at some point deal with. Consume.
Yep, yep. I always thought that that was Cthulhu.
It is, yeah. Yeah, it absolutely is. The tentacle monster from the deep ocean. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
Cthulhu.
it's
Um,
Cthulhu. Yep. They didn't
yep.
come out right and say it, and that's not the name Matt gave it to him, but it's
No,
Cthulhu.
Ukatoa. Yeah,
Yeah.
Ukatoa. So, So yeah, I mean if a player wants to do that, I mean I'm all for it. The main thing is they really have you they have to they're putting their trust in you first of all. But the idea of if everything revolves around them getting screwed over by their patron, it's not very fun.
Right.
So you need to sort of like get a little give and take there and figure out a good balance for that. So that can be tricky as a DM there is balancing what you want to do with uh and and at some point the idea of severing that tie and what that means to them. If it is someone has taken control of them or possessed them in some way,
Hmm.
or you have been given this gift,
Yeah.
and as you learn more about it, they start making demands of you, and you don't are willing to do them. Is there a way to keep your abilities and and break that connection? And that's where it can be interesting plot wise. So maybe another patron, they can take on another patron instead, or in the case of Ford becoming a paladin, um, and kind of keeping those abilities, but now with a more uh, focus toward the new patron of some kind.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, that can be an overall plot arc for a character to find a different patron and to relieve that that bond they didn't want to make a patron there uh, to make a new deal with somebody else. Um, so uh, we're getting close to time here there. So those of you in I see hopefully down in Millsap are still in the chat there. Um, what warlocks have you seen or played with, or any ideas you've had for warlocks? Um, while you're kind of thinking about that, maybe throw some things out there. Next week or next 2 weeks from now, as we mentioned before, we are doing our last class act, the Wizard, um, which I would say is probably one of my overall, in some form or other, I have played more Wizards than just about any other class. Um, or people that dipped into Wizard, or like I have made a lot of Wizards over the years. It's one of my favorite type of classes here because I love intelligence-based characters. I like playing the smarty pants. Um, so I would say Wizard's one of those ones that has a lot of interesting utility to them, and they've taken a lot of different forms over the years. Talk about what wizards have looked like throughout the years in Dungeons and Dragons because they have undergone some major changes um, in terms of what they do. But um, after that, I'm going to put some homework down for you guys here because um, after Wizards, we are going to be moving on to some new stuff. So I want you to throw some ideas out for what you'd like to see for topics in future DM&Ds. So either in the chat, bring it to the next episode we have. If you're on the Discord, throw in the Discord somewhere there. They're putting out a question and saying, "Hey, I would love to see a topic around this." Absolutely. Um, we'll see because we're going to need to move on to some new stuff and try some new things. Um, but I will say Wizard 2 weeks, and then we're going to be in the new year after that because the following Thursdays are Christmas and New Year's.
Hmm. Hmm.
So uh, the Wizards will be our last DM&D of the year. Um,
We timed that
so
right. Good job getting
it
sick.
worked. It worked out well. Yeah, good job getting sick and yeah. So I will say, yeah. So think about that. Think about that over time here. Just topics you want to either revisit or new topics we haven't covered. Questions you might have, things you want to throw out there. Love to see some ideas from you folks here. Um, but yeah, I think uh, my last thing with warlocks is yeah, just lean into the theme. There's so much like flavor around a warlock that like they are the epitome of the fire caster. They are the crazy hexblade warrior. They are the eldritch crazy psychic damage dealing, mind warping thing. Um, and again, they team up so well. A great old one warlock and a aberrant mind sorcerer are they go hand in hand. I mean,
Mhm.
they're almost perfect together. Um, so yeah, and like the hex blade and the paladin or the College of Swords bard, just perfect together. So I encourage you to figure out a way to throw a warlock into the mix there, or if at some point you can figure out a way to make a straight up warlock build. Um, my I had one. I had one, but only level 4 and only played him in a one shot. But it's one of those ones that I could see taking that character all the way up as a warlock because it would just be absolutely nuts. Um, but yeah, that's my little dozer halfling. He was a blast. Just the yeah, he would have been a lot of fun there, but unfortunately, he was only fourth level, so I couldn't really do much with him. Um, but anyway, any last things there, Nance?
No, just come check out the Discord anytime, guys. The link for that is below.
Yep.
Push the
And the
like and
doobly doo,
subscribe
as
button.
yep. Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. Uh, Spread the word, get some books out there. And yeah, be prepared next week with your wizards. What
Two
kind of
weeks.
crazy wizards you have there? 2 weeks. Yeah. Next episode.
Next episode.
Um, uh, and we'll see where we go from there. And yeah, I hope you guys can have some fun. Enjoy your games here. Enjoy your holiday times and everything else coming up here. So um, we'll see you again soon. Take care, have fun, and stop by the tavern. Drinks are on us. Take care. Bye, folks.